A number of the major power tool manufacturers such as Cobalt, Ryobi, DeWalt, carry or offer a number of what they call job site saws and some table saws, which they call portable, that you can take on the job site. And Bosch is no exception. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the Bosch GTS1031. Let's look at the specifications for the Bosch. This is a 10-inch 15-amp saw. At 0-degree bevel, it'll cut through about 3.5 inches of lumber. At 45 degrees, it'll cut through 2.5 inches. The RPMs are 5,000. This weighs in at a hefty 60 pounds. So if you got to go up some stairs with this, or you got to carry it some distance, that's a consideration. The rip left is 8.5 inches. The rip right is 18 inches. And when I get to the section of the video on the fence, I'll show you how I sneak about another ½ inch out of that. It will take a dado stack with the optional table insert. It does not come with a stand. It does have dust collection. Table size is 23 by 20 inches. Height is right at about 30 inches without any of the attachments. Warranty is 1 year, and at the time of this video, this saw was $379 before tax and before any discounts. As with all power tools, make sure you read, understand, and apply all the operational and safety instructions that come with your power tool. And make sure you have good eye protection and hearing protection. Let's take a look at the accessories that come with the Bosch. Of course, it comes with a fence. It does come with a push stick, anti-kickback paws, does have the blade guard and a Bosch 10-inch general purpose blade. It also comes with your wrenches to change out the blade, and it does come with a miter gauge. Not much difference between this miter gauge and the miter gauge that comes with a Harbor Freight $139 saw. But those are the accessories that come with the Bosch. The table on the Bosch appears to be level or square, both left to right and front to back. And any way that I measured it with my little square here, it came out perfect. Even when I brought the extension out, it still stayed level with the rest. And that's probably because all this additional tubing or framing prevents the tabletop from being distorted in any way. So this is a very square tabletop. The blade alignment at 90 degrees from the factory for the Bosch is pretty good. You can see just a little bit of daylight there, a little bit more at the top, just a fraction off. And I found it to be about the same at 45 degrees for this table saw. Before we turn the Bosch over and take a look from the underside, let's look down inside from the top. You'll notice for the table insert there's set screws, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, that allow you to change the height of the table insert. And I think you can see the arbor there. It's large enough to accommodate a dado stack, but again, you're going to need another table insert, which is optional with the saw. It doesn't come with it automatically. There's your riving knife and the mechanism to control the height and remove it. And then you can see here on the back, there's some adjustments for the riving knife. So make sure you take a look at your manual to see how to adjust this for the different blade sizes, blade thicknesses that you may use. There's also dust control. It's all black plastic. It's hard to see from this angle, but I'm going to flip this over here in just a moment and show you this all from the bottom. So that's down inside the Bosch from the top. Let's take a look at the exterior as well as the onboard storage for the Bosch. On the left-hand side, you have some cord management. And you can see some of the tubing or the framing here on this side. Handles on both front and back. I'll show you more about that when I turn it upside down. This is the front panel. And the crank came pre-assembled, so you didn't have to do any assembling anywhere on the crank. And some more shots of the tubing right there. On the right hand side, there's storage for the push stick, and behind this knob are your 2 wrenches for changing out the blade. Down there is the blade guard, And I'm going to show you more about that when I turn this around and get it into the light for you. But one of the things I like about the onboard storage for this saw is that the fence can be stored upside down on the right side panel. So when you close this, you have a very tight footprint and everything's stored within the confines of the saw itself. So you can put everything on the saw and take it with you. So let me go around the back side. Let me turn this around and put it in the light so you can see it a little bit better. Let's take a look at the rear exterior of the Bosch and the onboard storage. So you can see tucked inside the frame is the blade guard. Right there at the back of the dust control or the anti-kickback pause. And then you do have the miter gauge right there held into place by two clips. And then you've got two handles in the front and two handles in the back to make it easy to maneuver or move around. You do have a little handle right there for picking it up, although it's 60 pounds, you might want to use two hands. And then it does have hand guards or hand grips on both sides of the saw so you can pick it up with two hands. So that is the exterior of the Bosch. Let's take a look under the hood of the Bosch. So there you see the sliding fence control mechanism. This is what will lock it in place. I've also left the fence locked in place upside down so you can see how that looks like from this side. Also I want you to notice the tubing. If I get in tight there, you can see some of the welds. Let's do it from this angle. Very well done. A lot of additional tubing, which does make this heavier. As I said earlier, it weighs in at about 60 pounds. But what you're going to find with this amount of tubing, it provides a lot of additional strength, which will prevent the cage or box or frame or whatever you want to call it from being distorted. This is the onboard storage for the blade guard. Down there is the back side of the storage for your wrenches and of course your push stick. There's a little bit of, you see there's two little Allen wrenches down there hooked onto the dust control. This part of the dust control, this one section here comes off by itself, which is really convenient. Then the rest of this comes off with Phillips screwdriver. Then here is your miter gauge. That's onboard storage. On the back side, I'll show you in a second when I flip this around so you can see it in the light. I'll show you the anti-kickback pause. There's a mechanism that controls the vertical as well as the bevel on the saw blade. And then there is your motor. So let me turn this around and we'll take a look at the dust control and the anti-kickback pause from the back side. Now let's look at the under the hood from the back on the Bosch. So there are your anti-kickback pause right there. And if you see that panel and those slots, this part of your dust control where you're very likely to have clogs all slides out, and all you have to do is take out that little wing nut and you're done. On this side you just need a Phillips head screwdriver, and of course there's onboard storage for the Allen wrenches. Another look at storage for the blade guard and then the miter gauge. So that's it for under the hood for the Bosch. The Bosch lends itself to being stored on either the left or right hand side. So if you store it on either side, it's going to be resting on these two bumpers right here, plus this little hand bumper right there. If you decide to store it on the side, make sure you have the fence control mechanism flush all the way to the left because you don't want to damage it. You don't want to lay this down on either the front side or the back side because you're going to damage your fence control mechanism. So again, the Bosch can be stored on either the left or right hand side or flat down like you normally would use it. Let's take a close look at the fence control mechanism. You can see that the track for the fence control mechanism rides on a plastic track here. So I don't know that I'd want to put an awful lot of weight on this extension on the right hand side. Then here are the increments. They're relatively easy to read. Looks like some kind of white metal, maybe perhaps stainless steel. And then right there, this little increment, this little gauge is adjustable, as you can see. So depending on the blade that you use, if you move to a dado stack, you might have to adjust that accordingly. And then this gauge here for the fence is easy to see through, very precise. And then of course it's adjustable just like the other one. So I'm going to set up my tripod and give you a view of how this mechanism works. Let's take a look at how the fence control mechanism operates on the Bosch. Okay? Right now this is down, this handle's down, it's in the lock position. All you have to do is pull it up, pull this out, and then you have your extension all the way out. If I take the fence and slide it all the way out, right till it's flush with the edge, and then lock it in place, then what you're looking at is about 18.5 inches if you include the kerf, and that's with the standard blade that comes with it. This is a little bit tight, so you do have an adjustment on the back side that will allow you to change that amount of tension. I would say once you get this aligned so it is either parallel to a miter slot or you've measured it to the blade, I'd pretty much leave this locked in place and then slide the table back and forth until you got to the distance you wanted. That way you're not having to worry about realigning it every time, because just like many of the others that lock into place this way and don't use rack and pinion, you're either going to have to do some kind of marking or lock it down after you've got a parallel so it remains parallel to the blade while you move it back and forth. That will save you time in working with the Bosch fence control mechanism. Let's take a look at the noise levels on the Bosch. As you can see, that's 94 decibels, okay? So if we look at this chart right here, 94 decibels is getting into the red. So if you're using this power tool or any other power tool that has that level of noise, you need to make sure you've got good hearing protection. If you like this video on the Bosch, I've also done one on the DeWalt DWE7480, Jobsite saw, the Ryobi table saw, the Craftsman table saw, Harbor Freight table saw, Ridgid table saw. I recently did a Cobalt miter saw, Ryobi miter saw, and Harbor Freight miter saw, so you might want to check those out as well. So if you like this video, please press like. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And as always, good luck on your projects. Nestles, Nestle's makes the very best chocolate. One of the major considerations when you're buying a saw is onboard storage. If you need to move this, all you have to do is unlock it. And yeah, that went real well. I'd like you to meet my producer-director. His name is Porsche. He's a 3-year-old Cocker Spaniel. And he's constantly working in the background to make sure we get all the videos, all the segments into the videos that we're supposed to have in there. Right, Porsche? Yep. And just about time for dinner, isn't it? All right, you're getting hungry, I can tell. All right, let's go get some dinner.